Hello everyone, Aquarius here, and as Mother's Day approaches, I thought it would be the perfect time to talk about mother healing. Many of us need to release some remaining mother issues. By releasing any mother issues you may have, your heart opens further to accepting joy. It makes it easier for you to become a recipient of love. Your mother also benefits when you're happy, whether or not she's consciously aware of it. Be willing to forgive and release old issues relating to yourself, your mother, mother figures, or anyone connected to your mother. After speaking with many mothers and giving insight and guidance to those who are on a healing journey, I've come to the conclusion that many of us don't understand things from our mother's perspective, and many of us mothers don't understand things from our child's perspective. That is why it is so important for mothers to share their stories with their children so that they can develop a better understanding of each other. There were times when your mother was busy at work, school, or handling household duties, and you wanted her undivided attention, but in that moment, it just wasn't feasible. In that moment, a child or your inner child may have felt abandoned, unheard, or even unloved. Some of us as a child overheard things, and even if they were not said directly to us, the energy we felt from these words permeated our heart chakra, and it manifested in us having emotional turmoil or frustration, or it became a pattern we repeated with our own children. Many parents do not feel as though that their actions could have participated in making their child feel unloved, abandoned, or unheard. But we have to understand that that was our child's truth, or that was our inner child's truth at that moment. Our parents and our children don't always understand our truths because our truth is simply our own perspective of the matter at hand. Please understand that the mind of a child wanders as they begin to compare their situations to that of others. Maybe their friend's mom bought their child a special pair of shoes, a toy, or took them out places more often. As a child and an adult, it is common human behavior to compare ourselves consciously or unconsciously to others. But as we go through our healing journey, these feelings seek resolution. As you are watching this video, I encourage you to like and subscribe, and I appreciate all who do. I am now going to read some excerpts from the book, The Black Girl's Guide to Healing Emotional Wounds by Najima Smalls. This section is called Mommy Issues, and it starts off with a comment from Kennedy J. Kennedy says, "My mother's overbearing personality made it hard to think for myself and form my own opinions. During my adolescent and young adult years, instead of discovering who I was, I constantly had my mother telling me who I should be, what I should wear, what I should do as a profession, and who I should date. Now, as an adult, I'm having to do the work of self-discovery, which should have taken place years ago." Our very first relationship is with our mothers. Our moms teach us what unconditional love looks like and paints the very first picture of a woman-to-woman relationship. For many of us, our moms grew up in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and the early 80s. Those days were drastically different from the times we currently live in. There were no cell phones or Google, and kids could run free all day long, at least until the street light came on. Another key difference is that these were times when oppression was still prevalent and racism was still very much alive and well. Many of our mothers were poor or lower middle class, or maybe just on the cusp of middle class. The middle class within the Black community did not look the way it does today. There were not many fancy family trips abroad and over-the-top family dinners at local five-star restaurants. Black families rarely had nannies and housekeepers during those times. Many families deemed middle class were living paycheck to paycheck. Poverty has an impact on the way a person views the world and the way they parent. The focus during those times was on surviving and not thriving. In contrast, many mothers today discuss school options for their children, plan play dates and vacations, and finding the right summer or after school program for their child. Those conversations between Black mothers were few and far between in those days. Keeping food on the table and preventing their daughter from being too fast and getting pregnant was the objective. Many moms during those days worked long hours or 2 jobs just for survival. There were no time for big hugs, long intimate mom-daughter talks, or words of affirmation. There was no time for them to study their children, to understand their interests, see what their learning styles were, and what they were curious about. There was no time to concern themselves with the development of the whole child and to affirm and appreciate their development at every stage. Therefore, many identities were not established. As children, we were left to figure it out on our own. Not having a clear picture of who you are can be damaging. If you do not know who you are, you can be doomed for a lifetime of confusion, bad decision making, and suffering. Parenting from that generation also meant that they had to be tough on us. They wanted the best for us, to keep us safe and free from bad choices. So, for them, it meant yelling, harsh punishments, and strict rules. Something as minor as wearing the wrong coat to school could mean a very stiff consequence. There was always a threat of serious punishments. They were very direct and always giving us warnings. At the same time, what was just as damaging was the comparisons. Some of our mothers compared us to other family and close friends, using statements like, "Cousin Angie wears pretty dresses, why don't you?" Leading us to feel as though we weren't as good as our cousin Angie, which gave many of us anxiety and for some led to depression. The idea of children being seen and not heard also meant that lots of questions from children went unasked, and lots of meaningful conversations were never had, like healthy conversations about our bodies, sex, and dating. It just wasn't on the discussion table at that time. Aside from being told to not engage in sex and to not get pregnant, that was the extent of the conversations had about sexuality and dating. So once again, many of us were led to figure it out on our own. Because our mothers were not as present as we would have liked, we had to figure it out on our own. As children, we looked to our mothers to be primary nurturers, to teach us about life and womanhood while providing protection and emotional support. When mom is unable to fulfill that role and we do not have someone else to step in, there may be some life skills left unacquired. It also leaves a scar that is hard to bear, and the damage is hard to heal. The desire for a mother's love never deserts us, yet it leaves us hungry for a mother figure or just someone to love us the way our mother should. It also makes it hard for us to fully trust, and our relationships with other women can become complicated. In contrast, all of us did not grow up with moms that baked cookies, checked our homework, made dinner every night, and read books to us before bed. We cannot deny that many of our mothers suffered from things that controlled their lives and choices. I am referring to things that were bigger than them, that took their focus. Whether that thing was a mental health issue, a religion, an addiction, a career, or even a lover. If you are on a journey that involves mother healing, I want you to write down these questions in a journal and answer them for yourself. Describe your mother's parenting style. How does her parenting style impact you today? Do you trust other women? How have you thrown shade in the past? How did you want that person to feel? Think about the last disagreement you had with another woman. What was the cause? How was it resolved? I encourage you all to keep finding new and creative ways to heal, even if you feel like you lack the ability, energy, or don't have the answers that you need. Sometimes when we search, we get exactly what it is we're looking for. So I hope y'all enjoyed this video, and I also have some childhood trauma readings available on my website for those who are healing from childhood traumas. I want to say Happy Mother's Day to all of the mothers out there. Comment below if you are a mother and let me know what you thought about this video. Bye-bye.